we're in this situation now where the former president has been charged by Georgia, by New York, and 2 different federal cases. No matter what, there is no good way to run this trial. If they do these gag orders, they're cracking down on the freedom of speech of the main opponent of the President of the United States. And if they don't, then you've got a federal and state defendant going around and possibly intimidating jurors and witnesses. It's a lose-lose once you end up in this situation.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here today with senior columnist Tim Carney. And Tim, there's been discussions in the Donald Trump indictment in Georgia about the potential of imposing a gag order. Why is that such a significant and, in your view, a potentially problematic discussion?
Well, so judges will always say if you're charged, they'll often warn the defendant, you are not allowed to publicly make statements that could be interpreted as trying to influence a jury pool or discourage a witness from testifying. But the problem is that Donald Trump's running for president. So if he gets, publicly accused of something, is he not allowed to then go and say, oh, by the way, this charge is untrue or unfair? And it's Donald Trump. So he doesn't simply say, I disagree with the public accusation against me. He says something like, if you come after me, I'm coming after you. Or Mike Pence is not a good guy and he might be a witness against me. So the way Donald Trump campaigns for president happens to overlap a lot with the sort of thing that judges tell people, well, you can't say this during a trial.
Another potentially problematic thing that critics have pointed out this judge is doing is setting a trial date for the day before Super Tuesday during the primaries. Is there a recourse for Trump for that sort of thing?
The problem is that there's no good way to do this. This is one reason that people say you shouldn't indict a presidential candidate. You shouldn't indict a political opponent in the case of the federal charges. That's Joe Biden's political opponent. Because if you push it till after the election, well, is that politicized timing? If you just hold it at the normal timing and it's before the election. Remember, this is what James Comey was dealing with when he was facing the possible charges against Hillary Clinton, is that any way he acted was influenced by politics. Even trying to not be influenced by politics, in turn, was influenced by politics. So we're in this situation now where the former president has been charged by Georgia, by New York, and 2 different federal cases. No matter what, there is no good way to run this trial. If they do these gag orders, they're cracking down on the freedom of speech of the main opponent of the President of the United States. And if they don't, then you've got a federal and state defendant going around and possibly intimidating jurors and witnesses. It's a lose-lose once you end up in this situation.
It's quite a split screen between what we're seeing with the Donald Trump case and the aggression with which the Justice Department has moved and the Hunter Biden cases, which have moved really slowly. Do you think there's a scenario in which the Donald Trump team, especially with the federal indictments, could point to, decisions that were taken, for example, before the 2020 election, not to take any overt investigative steps, and use that as a defense?
Yeah, so they definitely didn't they decided not to charge Hillary, and then they went ahead and the Trump administration didn't go ahead and prosecute Hillary, and then the not investigating Hunter. And you can see this across the board. You see how the Biden DOJ went after a pro-life protester who got in a scuffle and the charge got dropped, but took forever to go after any of these attacks, firebombings, vandalisms at pro-life pregnancy centers. So prosecutors will always have discretion. When that discretion always lines up with the politics of the president, it's time to get skeptical.
Tim, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Tim and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.